personal information belonging to past, current, and prospective students may have been exposed online.
More help is on the way for those thousands of University of Maryland students, faculty, and staff all affected by that breach.
News now. Marquette University warning students their personal information may have been compromised.
A week ago today, our university suffered a sophisticated cyber attack. I have ordered an extension of credit protection services from 1 year to a full 5 years of coverage, launching a comprehensive top-to-bottom examination of all computing and information systems. We will scan every single database. We will also conduct penetration tests, penetration tests and seal every possible gap, and I will take all necessary actions. To those affected by this security breach, I sincerely apologize.
Higher learning institutions, like the University of Akurana, face a number of challenges concerning information security. Foremost among these is the handling of sensitive data, examination papers, academic transcripts, financial and medical records. Protecting this data is not easy. Potential threats are numerous, and it is impossible to eliminate them all. But with proper technical measures, administrative controls, and support embedded into the structure of the organization, many of the threats can be countered and the risk minimized. Achieving ISO standard certification is a means to this end. The ISO standards provide a framework that can be tailored to any organization, providing the tools needed to establish with certainty that every reasonable measure has been taken to uphold a high standard of information security and to ensure that these measures remain effective in the long term. Achieving ISO compliance will protect the University of Akurana from the damaging repercussions associated with data breaches and cyber attacks, and will make a strong statement about its commitment to the security of the valuable information entrusted to its care by students, staff, and the academic community. Our analysis has revealed 3 main areas in which information security can be improved to meet ISO standards: data protection, administrative controls, and ongoing support. First, let's look more closely at the data protection challenges facing the university and some potential solutions. The cost of a data breach is often the first concern when considering the importance of proper data protection. According to research done by the Poneman Institute, breaches in education institutions are among the most expensive of those in any class of institution. The average cost per breach file in the year 2014 was estimated by the Institute to be as high as $300. We gather that employees of the university are permitted to use personal computing devices to perform university-related functions such as grading of papers and the preparation of examination materials. While we understand that this is a functional and highly convenient feature of the modern workplace, and likely an essential part of many workflows within the university, it is important to be aware of exactly what risks are entailed. An employee recently lost a personal laptop after leaving it on a public bus. The employee had been using the laptop to prepare examination materials. In this instance, no valuable information was on the laptop. However, this may not always be the case. A good backup system on devices used for remote work can ensure that no time is wasted recovering lost data, and a robust encryption system can ensure that data that is lost is not compromised. These are only examples. We recommend that a thorough audit of teleworking practices be conducted in order to determine what, if any, security measures ought to be put in place. Under current practice, the university backs up its financial data on external storage media. On Fridays, this media is physically carried to a bank 2 kilometers away, where it is kept in a safety deposit box. We recommend that this practice be discontinued. The backup is stored on-site during the week and only 2 kilometers away at weekends. An incident that threatens the primary data would likely also endanger the backup. In order to minimize the risk of data loss in the event of a disaster, and in order to comply with the ISO standard, we recommend that financial data be backed up to secure online storage. The cost of using a secure online storage service is only slightly greater than the cost of renting a safe deposit locker at the bank, but the benefits it provides are much greater. Online storage allows for data to be continuously backed up and stored with redundancy. Sensitive data can also be encrypted to mitigate the risks of using an online rather than local backup service. As it stands, a single staff member is tasked with entering examination results into the computer system. This represents a single point of failure. The data should be validated by another person to ensure that it is correct and appropriate. The University of Akurana does not currently meet the requirements of the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, PCI DSS, but it does store and handle cardholder data. In the event of a security breach, this exposes the university to the risk of loss of reputation, litigation, and financial liabilities, along with other fees and fines. As we understand it, payments for services rendered by the university are already handled by Asampath Bank, but the university still maintains card details on record. The benefits of retaining card details in this way should be assessed, and should it be found necessary to maintain this record, we recommend that card data retention services be arranged with the payment handling bank, or that payment handling and storage should be transferred to a new PCI DSS compliant service provider that can meet the university's requirements. By accepting charges made with credit cards only through the internet and by storing no sensitive cardholder data, the university need only complete an annual self-assessment questionnaire to be PCI DSS compliant. EU Directive 95/46 defines two different types of person-related data and restricts how such data can be processed, used, and stored. Personal data is a broad definition of data which relates to persons. Data stored by the university which falls under this heading includes student names, dates of birth, and social security numbers. Personal data is considered to be sensitive when it carries the potential of revealing racial or ethnic origin, political opinions, religious or philosophical beliefs, trade union membership, health, and sex life. In order to ensure compliance with the directive, the university should review several of its current practices regarding sensitive personal data. Data held by the university which fall under this category include the following: medical records provided by students in the event that medical conditions or treatment interfere with classes or examinations. Medical data, such as prescriptions, bills from healthcare providers, request forms, provided by staff members for reimbursal by the Welfare Office. This data is currently maintained in a computer system and overseen by the Senior Assistant Registrar. The university also has financial data provided by students in order to establish their eligibility for financial support. And finally, academic records and transcripts. Retention of such data is allowed only under certain circumstances, as mentioned in Article 8 of the EU Directive, such as if Sri Lankan law should specifically allow or require it, if explicit and informed consent is given by the subject, and if the data is handled by a third party that is properly authorized to do so. We recommend that the university review its practices to ensure that any personal and sensitive data it handles is in compliance with this EU directive. Administrative controls.
It seems I have forgotten my password. Oh dear, what on earth am I going to do?
No worries, Johnny. I remember your password. It's 1234, just like mine.
Wow, nice. That's also my password.
Hey, did I hear you right? Were you talking about my password?
New employees are issued with a university email account with a predictable username and a generic initial password that is the same for all new users. Furthermore, the university does not require users to change this initial password. These practices make it trivially simple for an attacker to access a new employee's email account. In order to improve the security of employee email accounts and to comply with the ISO standard, the university should change these practices in the following ways. First, according to the ISO standard, the initial secret authentication information associated with a new employee's account should be unique and should not be guessable. Instead, these accounts should be initially configured with passwords that are unique to each user and that are not easily guessable. Second, users should be required to change their initial password on first use. This further protects their account from unauthorized access, including casual illicit access by other staff members who know the initial password. The university grants at least some fourth-year computer science students root access to the university's systems. Through malice, negligence, or ineptitude, students with root access could cause significant damage and disruption to university computer systems. In order to reduce the risk that such problems could occur, and to comply with the ISO standard, root access to the network should be restricted and controlled. Further investigation into the details of this practice and the educational merit would be necessary in order to determine whether sufficient controls are in place to comply with this requirement. Our attention has also been drawn to a recent incident in which staff members at UA followed a link provided in a spam email message. This is a risky practice that could, in many cases, expose a university system to malicious software. This is a matter which requires further education of staff in how to recognize malicious links, phishing attempts, and other targeted and non-targeted attempts to breach university security. The ISO standard suggests that employees should receive appropriate awareness education and training. In order to improve security awareness among staff and to comply with this requirement, UA could provide its staff with further training regarding how to deal with spam emails and how to recognize potentially malicious links. At the University of Akurana, the financial audit system logs system events in a matter that fails to document which user of the system caused the event. The current practice, in which the audit system logs the identity only of the group to which a user belongs, prevents auditors from easily determining which user carried out a particular action. This poses the risk that a user of the system could carry out a prohibited action, for example, illicitly modifying the university's financial data without being identified. In order to mitigate this risk and to comply with the ISO standard, the audit system should log individual user IDs. However, when individual user IDs are logged, the audit system may also begin to capture sensitive and personally identifiable information, which is subject to privacy-related regulations. Accordingly, the audit system should also include appropriate privacy protection controls. In order to ensure that information security incidents are handled properly, and in order to comply with the requirements of the ISO standard, the University of Akurana needs an incident response policy. In the absence of such a policy, there is a risk that incidents will not be dealt with in an effective manner, thereby increasing the harm they can cause and reducing UA's ability to recover from them. An incident response policy should include a procedure for reporting incidents and a procedure for responding to incident reports. The facts of an incident that occurred at the university suggest that one or more of these elements may be missing from current policy. In this incident, an intern discovered that several machines were infected with bots. Despite the fairly serious nature of this discovery, the head of the NOC did not take the intern's report seriously, and no formal complaint was logged. The university should have an incident response policy that includes appropriate procedures for reporting and responding to information security incidents, and that complies with the requirements of ISO Standard 27002. One example would be the use of information security event reporting forms. These would help to ensure that an intern who discovers a machine infected with bots has a clear procedure to follow in order to report the infection, and that there is sufficient accountability that all such reports are properly and thoroughly investigated. NOC employees currently have passwords to every database in the university's system. Employee access to those databases is regulated through a policy which stipulates that, before accessing a database, the employee must seek permission from the relevant department head. This arguably provides NOC employees with the opportunity to access sensitive data in an excessively casual manner. The ease with which NOC employees can log into these databases endangers the confidentiality and integrity of the information they contain. Under current practice, the NOC employee who requests access to a sensitive database already has the password to that database. In other words, the employee has both the access request role and the access administration role. ISO Standard 27002 requires segregation of access control roles so that, for example, there are distinct roles associated with access requests, access authorization, and access administration. The standard also requires that requests for access to these databases be formally authorized. Under current practice, the head of the NOC is responsible for responding to access requests, but it isn't clear how these responses are carried out, or whether they are sufficiently formal so as to comply with the requirements. Furthermore, when access privileges are granted, a record of all privileges allocated should be maintained. It is not clear whether the NOC is currently maintaining any such records. Ongoing support. If the university were to experience an information security related incident, it would face financial losses and could benefit from an insurance policy that covers them. There are three main types of loss for which the university should consider obtaining insurance coverage. First, there can be financial losses associated with litigation. If an information security breach were to occur, it is possible that adversely affected parties could sue the university. Mounting a defense could incur substantial legal fees, and the university should consider whether it is worthwhile to have an insurance policy that could cover those costs. Second, there can be losses through regulatory fines or penalties. The university may be subject to fines imposed by the government if the university has somehow not met its legal obligations in connection with information security. Furthermore, the university could face enormous financial losses through any penalties imposed by a court in connection with a successful lawsuit. Third, there can be financial losses associated with disclosure of an information security incident. These losses could include the fees charged by a lawyer to produce a carefully crafted disclosure statement, the administrative expenses associated with notifying everyone adversely affected by the incident, and the production expenses involved in publicly announcing the incident. The measures we have suggested will be of limited utility without support and maintenance embedded in the university administration, and specialized personnel to oversee them both on a technical and administrative level. Monitoring and maintenance are crucial to the success of any information security program. At the moment, the university has no dedicated security expert on its staff. We recommend that an experienced information security professional be recruited and appointed as soon as possible, in order that they can be involved with the process of implementing this security program from start to finish. The newly appointed staff member should be positioned to provide guidance and later to take responsibility for monitoring and maintenance in close cooperation with university staff. We are concerned that changes which are too drastic or perceived to be too severe will be met with resistance from current members of staff. These measures will rely on ongoing cooperation and goodwill from all sectors of the administration, especially the NOC, and it is important that they be implemented with sensitivity. For this reason, we recommend that the newly hired professional be embedded in the NOC, working closely with them to foster good working relationships and to build experience with university methods and workflows. They will be answerable to higher management and will have the mandate to suggest and implement sensible and evolutionary improvements. It is difficult to know whether there is cause to restructure IT administration in the university, for example, creating a dedicated information security department at this time. We feel that the more nuanced organizational recommendations should be made once the appointed information security specialist has gained sufficient knowledge of the organization to provide effective guidance. By carrying out the reviews and implementing the changes we have suggested in this presentation, the University of Akurana will be well on its way towards qualifying for ISO certification. Even more importantly, taking these steps will substantially improve the university's security posture, increasing the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of all of its information resources.